Light the Sky on Fire by Equestron. Chapter 1, Only Chapter. The grass is cool and damp under my hooves as I trot towards Saddle Lake. The early morning air is clear and crisp, with only a small scattering of thin, high clouds in the sky to reflect Celestia's sunrise. Cirrus Inocinus clouds, also known as mare's tails because of their thin, curved shape and feathery edges that look like loose horse hair of a pony's tail blowing in the wind. A warm front must be approaching out of the Everfree, causing the bands of ice crystals to form way up in the troposphere ahead of it. There's only a few mare's tails in the sky right now, so probably not a very strong front yet. But some inner sense, a tickle in the back of my mind, tells me that more are trying to form. If the front gets stronger, and the weather patrol here in Ponyville leaves everything to itself, we might just get some rain this evening, depending on how the front moves. Of course, if we don't want the rain right now, the patrol will just make the clouds go somewhere else. Applejack's orchards can always use a little extra around this time of year, though, and probably most of the other farms, too. So the patrol may just let this one go through if it doesn't get too strong. Either way, there won't be anything to worry about until much later today. Right now, it's perfect flying weather. Thanks to Twilight Sparkle's tutoring, I know all of those facts with barely a moment's thought now. As a Pegasus, I could always feel these types of clouds. Through Rainbow Dash, I learned how to touch them. As Twilight student, I know their names. I know why and how they form, what makes them hold together, what each kind means. I can read them like a book, and I know what they're made of. But today, the clouds are going to know what I'm made of. The clouds are going to know my name. I'm Scootaloo. I'm the honorary little sister of Rainbow Dash, greatest flyer in Equestria. And I am the personal student of the element of magic, Princess Twilight Sparkle. Together, they taught me to fly. And together, Twilight Sparkle and Rainbow Dash are the reason I'm here. Now, awake with the dawn, trotting off toward the open field around Saddle Lake. I've been studying and practicing this for days now, every chance I got. Today, I'm going to put myself to the test, because I've made up my mind that today is the day I'm going to do it. Today is the day I'm going to make my teachers proud. Today is the day I'm going to light the sky on fire. It's still funny to me how I ended up being Twilight's student too, as well as Rainbow's. If you told me 6 months ago that I turned myself into a bookworm, visiting Twilight's library 3 or 4 times a week, studying textbooks every night, sitting and listening to her lecturing on me on aerodynamics, biology, and basic magic theory, meteorology, and mathematics, and all that other stuff, taking tests on all of it, and that I would do all that willingly, that on top of having to spend 5 days a week at school, that I would volunteer for even more school, do more homework, take more tests, listen to more lectures, until my brain felt like it was about to melt right out of my ears for trying to cram so much knowledge into it, that in my desperation to finally, somehow, grasp the secrets of flight that had always been so frustratingly just out of my reach no matter how hard I try, I would grind away day and night after mind-numbing night at discordant cursed subjects like basic algebra, geometry, and physics until I just wanted to scream. If you told me 6 months ago, I would have laughed in your face. Books are going to teach me how to fly like Rainbow Dash. Tests are going to teach me how to reach the clouds. All that egghead stuff, as Rainbow Dash calls it, is going to teach me how to command the air and sky. A bookworm like Byron, who hadn't even had her own wings for a whole 2 weeks yet. She was going to teach a Pegasus who was born with wings how to fly? Well, yeah, she was. And she did. I always wanted to be like Rainbow Dash. I admired her. I idolized her. And more than anything in the world, I wanted to fly like her. Racing through the skies faster than I could follow, clearing the clouds in 10 seconds flat. She could fly rings around any Pegasus in Ponyville. She brought home gold from the Young Flyers competition. She did her first sonic rain boom when she was my age for Celestia's sake. And me? I could hardly get more than a couple feet off the ground for more than a measly seconds before crashing into a mud puddle or ending up covered in leaves and tree sap. Every attempt a failure. She made it look so easy. I could never understand why it was so hard for me. She made it look easy because for her, it was easy. Rainbow's innate Pegasus magic. Listen to me, using words like innate now. Twilight, I've learned so much from you. It's so strong, so deep in every muscle and bone and cell in her body, that she bends the air to her will just by being in the air, without even having to think about it. She understood the sky from the moment she first stretched out her wings and touched the first cloud. Most Pegasi do. It's our nature. It's what we are. But not me. I get that now. For whatever reason, it just doesn't work that way for me. Me? I have to think. I have to know. And knowledge was what I was missing. I always had the power to fly. I had it all along. I always had that Pegasus magic inside me, just waiting to be used. What I didn't have, what I never had, what I never even realized I was missing was understanding. For me, the magic was locked inside a puzzle box I didn't know how to open. And worse, like a yearling foal who had just been given their first heartwarming gift, I didn't even know I needed to open that box. I thought the bright shining box with the colorful wrappings was the gift. That was the inside of it. I thought just being a Pegasus was enough. And maybe for most Pegasi, it is. But not me. Me? I was like a baker trying to make a cake without understanding that when the recipe said to add eggs, that meant you were supposed to crack open the eggs first and add what was inside the shells to the recipe. And without understanding, without knowing, I just kept tossing in the whole egg, shell and all, and expecting the cake to come right out somehow. I was trying to eat an orange by biting into it whole, never understanding why it was so tough and bitter when it was supposed to be juicy and sweet. No wonder I always failed. But now I know. Now I understand. Rainbow Dash showed me what Pegasus magic was, and what it could do when the box was opened. Twilight Sparkle taught me that there was a box, that the tools I needed to use magic were inside it. Just like the juicy sweetness of that orange is hidden away inside the rind until it's peeled. Rainbow showed me what the tools were for, how to use them. Twilight taught me why the tools work, and how to get them out of the box. And together, they showed me how to touch the sky. I trot out into the open field by the lake, and make my way to what's become my favorite spot for practice flights. The natural tail heading down the waterfront bends off to the left, so most ponies out for a day at the lake will go that way. The spot we use for flight practice is off to the right. You have to go off the trail and around a big patch of tall switchgrass to get it. That's what made it so perfect for us. It's out of the way, so Twilight and I could practice takeoffs and landings without bothering any pony, or worse, accidentally landing on top of them. Twilight nearly did that a few times herself, so I don't feel too badly about my own near misses, but it's still embarrassing to screw up a landing that badly. And neither of us have messed up a fight like that in a while, but still, it's just our spot. Striking off my saddlebags, I start going through some limbering up exercises, stretching out my legs and wings. With what I'm planning to do today, the last thing I can afford is an unexpected cramp in midair. So I make sure to go through the whole routine, testing myself, alert for any sign of stiffness or spasms as I bend and stretch each leg, flex the wings, arch my back and neck, then bend and flex and arch some more. Just like I've done every day for the last 5 or 6 months now, every morning and evening without fail, just like Rainbow Dash taught me. And she made feathering sure I did it too, even on days when I was battered and bruised from a dozen out-of-control crash landings, and all I wanted to do was drag myself into bed and sleep for a week. There were days when I was sure she was trying to kill me by slow torture, and hated her guts for it. And she just laughed and made me do it anyway. Of course, she made Twilight do exercises too. She climbed a magic inhibitor on her corn, so she couldn't cheat. Ha! If looks could kill, Dash would have been flash fried into charcoal the first time she made Twilight wear that thing. I'm pretty sure Twilight thought Dash was trying to kill her with all those workout exercises too. I've done this warm-up routine so often, I don't even have to think about it anymore. Alone with my thoughts in the early dawn hours, I think about the times that brought me to this moment. Why? Why? Why can't I fly? Why? That was 6 months ago. I was so tired of being the dodo, the chicken, the flightless wonder. And after having a whole summer of watching from the ground, while all the other pegasi full of my age were playing games in the air, I finally had enough. I made up my mind that, by Celestia, Luna, and the great Maker herself, I was going to learn to fly, even if it killed me. Somehow, even if it was the last thing I ever did, I was going to fly. I tried everything. I tried running starts. I tried crowns to jump takeoffs. I tried just standing still and trying to take off straight up. I tried building a ramp and launching myself into the air with my scooter. I tried flapping with my wings in slow, broad strokes like an eagle. I tried buzzing them like a hummingbird. I watched the others fly, studied everything they did, and tried to imitate them. I even volunteered to spend some time helping Fluttershy with our animals, just so I could have an excuse to watch her fly, because everyone knows she's one of the weakest flyers in Ponyville, and surely I could at least manage to do whatever she did, right? I could at least learn to hover for more few seconds, couldn't I? Even Fluttershy could do that much. Nothing worked. Rainbow Dash did her best to help me, too. I know she did. She took me under her wing after that camping trip, adopted me as her honorary little sister, and tried to teach me. She started me on wing exercises to try to build up my strength. Since I couldn't get off the ground on my own, she carried me into the air, riding on her back, so I could see up close how the wings were supposed to work. Feel the movements in her muscles and joints as she rose and fell, riding the air currents. I tried to copy what she did, trying to mimic her every move on the ground and in the air. Nothing worked. Daz even took me up to her cloud home and let me walk on the clouds, just to prove that I was a true Pegasus. But that just made me feel even worse. I could walk on clouds, so why couldn't I reach them? Why? On days when Daz wasn't there to teach me, I tried launching myself into the air by jumping off diving rocks around the lake, so I just fall into the water and make a big splash, instead of smacking into the ground or crashing through trees. If any pony saw me, I could always pretend I was practicing fancy diving stunts, instead of pathetically failing at flying. I did all that, and I still failed. Failure after failure after useless failure. Even on those rare times I did manage to get more than a foot off or two off the ground, it never lasted more than a few heartbreaks before I plunged into the lake or come crashing back to earth, with nothing to show for it except another scrape or bruise, another cramp in my wing joints, another day of going home covered in dirt, broken twigs, and tree sap. Another day of failure. Until finally, one miserable day, I just couldn't take any more. One miserable day, I just snapped. Why? Why? I screamed, my eyes filling with tears as I slammed my hooves against the ground in rage and heartbreak. Yet, after yet another afternoon of failures had left me face down in the dirt and fallen leaves, battered and bruised and aching from all over for plowing to the ground again and again and again. Why? Why can't I fly? Why? I hated myself for being so weak, so useless. I tried so hard, and nothing I ever did was good enough. I wasn't good enough. Scootaloo? I heard a voice from behind me, but I didn't look up. Scootaloo, what's wrong? The voice came closer, and I felt some pony's hoof touch my withers, trying to get my attention, but I just ignored it. I just laid there in the dirt and sobbed, screaming, why, over and over again. Like maybe I thought the dirt might answer me if I just yelled at it loudly enough. Way to go, Twy! Now you're getting it. You rolled that updraft almost as good as... Whoa! What happened? Is Scoot okay? Rainbow Dash's voice. And now my humiliation was complete. Not only was I a useless, flightless failure, but my idol, the Pegasus who was everything I dreamed of being, was going to see just how weak and useless and pathetic I really was. And worst of all, I didn't really care. I wasn't worthy of being her little sister anymore. Even the greatest flyer in Equestria couldn't teach a failure like me how to fly. I just wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough for anything. I don't know, Rainbow. I just found her like this. I felt somepony kneel down on the ground beside me, spreading a comforting wing across me. What's the matter, Scootaloo? Are you hurt? What happened? I'm useless! I sobbed. The mare sitting next to me tried to draw me in closer, and at first I resisted. I didn't want to be comforted. I just wanted to rage and scream and lay in the dirt. But she drew me in close anyway. I felt her forelegs wrap around me. I felt my face buried against her shoulder, and I couldn't help it. I couldn't keep it in anymore. I didn't even know who it was that was holding me, and I didn't care. I just fell apart and cried. I'm a failure! Hey! I heard Rainbow's voice saying. Come on, Scoot! You're not a failure! What? I am! I bawled like a yearling foaled. I've tried so hard. I still can't fly! I wrenched myself away from the comforting embrace and threw myself back into the dirt. I've done everything, and these stupid, useless wings! I felt that comforting wing settle across my withers again. Then another wing on top of that one, and a pair of familiar hooves pulling me closer, wrapping me up into a tight embrace while her wings covered me, sheltering me from the world. Rainbow Dash, trying to comfort me, even though I had completely, totally failed her, buried my face against her sky blue coat, and sobbed while she held me, rocking me gently back and forth. At least she didn't say anything. The last thing I wanted to hear was my idol trying to tell me it was all right, when we both knew that was a lie. It would never be all right. She'd taken me under her wing, and all I'd done was waste her time by failing, again and again. Eventually, my sobs turned into quiet sniffles, as I cried myself out, and I could hear the other mare and Rainbow Dash speaking softly to each other. Okay now? The other voice was asking. No, Rainbow sighed. No, she's not. You wouldn't understand, Twilight. To a Pegasus, flying is everything. It's what we do. It's what we're born to do. And Scoot can't do it. Poor kids try so hard and she just can't do it. I thought you were teaching her. I have been trying to anyway. But it's just, I don't know. It's not working somehow. She can hover a little now. And she can even glide all the way across the lake if I take her up and launch her off my net back. But that's not enough. She wants to fly, Twilight. She wants... And... I've tried everything, Twi! Everything! I heard her voice catch for a moment, like she was choking on the words. Rainbow Dash on the verge of tears? Over my failures? Now I really felt like dirt. I just don't get it, Twi, she said. All the stuff we tried, it worked for me when I was learning to fly. It works for other Pegasi trying to learn to fly. It even works for Flier for crying out loud. So why won't it work for her? Why? Why can't I help her, Twilight? What am I doing wrong? I felt her chest rise and fall in another heavy sigh. She was defeated as I was, and I hated myself for it. You're so smart, Twilight. You know, like, everything. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. You're not doing anything wrong, I thought miserably. It's me. I'm the failure. I failed, not you. Wait, something in my brain suddenly clicked. Twilight? As in Twilight Sparkle? As in... I forced myself to stand up on shaky legs, wiping my tears away with a hoof. Then peeked down from behind Rainbow's wings to see none other than... Oh, horseradish. Princess Twilight Sparkle, sitting right there in front of us with a sad, sympathetic look on her face. Great. Just fucking great. Bad enough to be crying my eyes out in front of my hero. I just bawled like a baby in front of Equestria's newest royalty, too. She gave me a little smile as she saw me peeking out, but instead of cheering me up, it just made me feel even worse. If that was possible. I totally embarrassed and humiliated myself in front of my idol and an equestrian princess. Without thinking, I tried to salvage some shred of dignity by pulling free of Daz's embrace and bowing deeply to Princess Sparkle, lowering my head all the way down to my hooves. Princess Sparkle, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was you. I started to apologize. Skidaloo, please, Twilight groaned. Don't do that. What, huh? That wasn't exactly the reaction I expected. Rainbow chuckled and nudged me. She means don't bow to her, Scoot. But she's a princess now, I said, confused. Isn't that what you're supposed to do when you see one of the princesses? Looking back on it, I guess it does seem kind of weird that I even cared about that at all. Just then, but I did. I guess maybe my brain was desperate to grab onto anything that would give me something else to think about besides my own failures. Or how I had just a total screaming breakdown in front of the one pony I never, ever wanted to see me looking so weak and worthless. What? Just 'cause he's got the wings and fancy tiara now? Big deal! She's still the same Twilight, Scoots. That's right. Twilight chuckled as well. I felt her hoof under my chin, lifting my head up to look at her. Skidaloo, I'm a princess in the same way Blue Blood is a prince. It's mostly just an honorary title. It's not like I have real authority or anything. Huh? I asked, still confused. Yeah, you know, like how I call you my little sister, even if we're not really sisters, Daz explained. It's kind of the same thing. When grown-ups think some ponies extra awesome, we give them titles so every pony else knows how awesome they are. Right, Twi? Something like that. Twilight laughed. All it really means is that I either have to attend all kinds of boring social and diplomatic events, or figure out how to get out of them without offending any pony. She said, rolling her eyes out like that. I can come and go from Canterlot Castle whenever I want, which I always could do anyway, really. And Ponyville will get an extra bit of prestige from having a princess in residence, for whatever that's worth. That's all, Skidaloo. I pushed myself back to my hooves, then sat down, sighing heavily. Great. So I guess I screwed that up, too, I mumbled. Oh, don't feel bad, she said kindly, waving it off with a hoof. More kindly than a screw-up like me deserved. That was for sure. The coronation was only a week ago. It'll take time for every pony to get used to this, she said, flapping her wings a little. Great maker. I'm still getting used to it. I had no idea having wings was so complicated. I keep rolling over onto them in my sleep, and I'm still having to get Dash or Fluttershy help me preen them because I have no idea what I'm doing half the time. You gotta admit, though, Twi, being able to fly is pretty cool. Oh, definitely. At least 20% cooler. Twilight agreed with a mischievous smile. They both chuckled together at that, so I guess it was a private joke. But I didn't feel like laughing, so I didn't bother asking them to explain it. Twilight lifted my chin with a hoof again as she sat down in front of me, still smiling. Anyway, no matter what crazy rumors you've heard, I don't suddenly have awesome cosmic powers. Ponyville isn't going to become the capital of a new empire. I'm not immortal. I don't rule any pony, and I don't want to. I'm just a unicorn who got Pegasus wings and some earth pony magic now in her too. That's all. Inside, I'm still the same pony I was before, and that's all I want to be. My friends still get to call me Twilight, and my friends do not bow to me, Skidaloo. I don't want any pony bowing to me, okay? Okay, I said quietly. Now, both of you, start from the beginning. Tell me everything, she said, lifting a blank paper sheet and quill from her saddlebag. And let's see if we can figure this out scientifically. See? Told ya. Same old Twilight. Selling her wing around me again, Dash said. Got a problem to solve? Step 1, make a list. Step 2, check, make a list off the list, right? Even as low as I felt, I had to giggle slightly at the sight of an alicorn princess sticking her tongue out a dash. Seriously, though, Twilight said, there's got to be a logical answer for why she hasn't been able to fly. Tell me everything you guys tried. What the results were. She smiled as he put a hoof on top of mine. In one way or the other, Scootaloo, we will figure this out. I promise. When you get right down to it, we shouldn't be able to fly at all, and technically, we can't. I remember staring in shock at Twilight as she said that. It was a couple of days after I had my screaming, sobbing breakdown, and we, me, her, and Rainbow Dash, were sitting in that underground laboratory level of Twilight's library tree. I'd never been in that part of the library before, and ordinarily I would have been fascinated by all the stuff she had down there. Crystals glowing with magic, tables full of equipment that I hadn't had the foggiest idea what it was or what it did, some kind of calculating machine taking up most of one wall, and something that looked uncomfortably like a medical exam table that a pony could be strapped down onto. There were a dozen different books spread out across 2 tables, and a huge chalkboard filled with diagrams and equations that just made my head spin just to look at them. At the moment, though, Twilight Sparkle had my complete attention on what she just said. It took Rainbow Dash by surprise, too. What do you mean by that's why? Of course we can fly! Only because of your magic, Rainbow. Sorry, I guess I should say our magic since I have it now, too. Twilight added with a bit of a chuckle. Still getting used to that anyway. Scientifically speaking, pegasi and alicorns simply should not be able to fly. We shouldn't even be able to get off the ground. Our bodies are too large and heavy in proportion to the size of our wings, and that's true of every Pegasus, Scootaloo. Your wings may be a bit smaller than average for your age, but, well, here, look at Aloysius. See how large his wings are compared to the rest of his body? Aloysius, would you spread your wings out for a moment, please? Twilight's owl opened one eye when Twilight said his name, then hooted once he opened up his wings. Ooh! I was startled to realize just how large they were, spread out all the way like that. They looked even bigger than Princess Celestia's. See? His wings are over to twice the size of yours, right? Yet, his body is smaller than yours. Now, imagine if his body was the size of mine, or Rainbow Dash. His wings would reach halfway across the room. Thank you, Aloysius. He hooted again, whoo, and closed his wings, going back to sleep. So, even if you had wings the size of Princess Celestia's, that still wouldn't be enough to let you fly the way a Pegasus does. And if it was only about wing size, you see. Yeah, and you know that bodybuilder Snowflake? Dash cut in. Big, huge, muscly guy, even bigger than AJ's brother Big Mac. Ever looked at his wings? They're smaller than yours even, and he flies just fine. And look at Fluttershy Squirt. Back when we were in flight school, for a while her wings were bigger than mine, and she still was the weakest flyer in our whole class. I guess, I admitted. But then why? Because it isn't just our wings, Scootaloo. Twilight insisted. It's Pegasus magic that makes it happen, not just our wings. Each of the 3 pony races has their own kind of magic inside them, in every cell of their body. Has Miss Shirley taught you about cells and biology yet? Kinda, I said, nodding. A little anyway. Not that I remember a whole lot of it. She frowned slightly and made a note on the scroll. Okay, we'll come back to that a little later. Anyway, it's that magic force inside our bodies that allows each of the pony race to do special things they can do. It's what gives Earth ponies their increased strength and endurance, and their special connection to the natural world, plants and animals, and even the rocks in the ground. It's what allows unicorns to move objects, create illusions, and alter the physical world around them by casting spells with their horns. It's what allows Pegasi to walk on clouds, to control weather, and fly. Okay, so? So the first thing you need to do, Scootaloo, is stop worrying so much about your wings. I mean, yes, wings do matter. Sending that magic out through our wings is how we fly, and we do use them for steering and flight control. Yeah, we had so much flight control on our coronation day, Twi. Dash interrupted with a snort of laughter. Sorry, Twi, she added, as Twilight gave her a dirty look. But also, last year you should have seen it, Squirt. There we were, standing on top of the castle balcony, and all of a sudden, she thinks she can fly just 'cause she got wings. So she launches herself right off the balcony, tries to pull a loop-de-loop around the castle. Next thing you know, she spirals out of control and whoop! Des laughed, miming the accent with her host. Flies over withers, right into the Lyral Vineyards. Total wipeout! I caught the hoof to my mouth at that image. Tried not to laugh out loud. How bad? Twilight gave an embarrassed sigh. Well, let's just say it's really, really hard to get great state students out of a coronation dress. I couldn't help it. I had to giggle at that. And the giggles gave way to laughter as I imagined the newly crowned princess, still wearing her fancy coronation dress, piling a trail of purple destruction through the vineyards. Rainbow started to laugh as well. Even Twilight finally gave in and laughed along with us. Somehow, knowing I wasn't the only one who'd done a spectacularly embarrassing wipeout like that, and that even an Alcorn princess was having some of the troubles I was, made me feel a little better. Not much, but a little. Anyway, you see what I mean, Scootaloo? Twilight finally said, once we managed to stop giggling. I have that Pegasus magic inside me now, too. So technically, yes, I can fly. But I don't really know how to use that Pegasus magic yet. That's what we were doing out in there in the field the other day. Daz is teaching me how to fly properly, too. She wants to teach both of us how to fly. Oh. And the more I think about it, Scootaloo, the more I think maybe you have the same problem I do. You've got the magic. You just haven't figured out the right way to tap into it and use it yet. How do you know I've got it at all? I asked. What if I'm just, I don't know, defective or something? Hey now, Scoot, Rainbow Dash started to say. Because you can walk on clouds, Scootaloo, Twilight said, interrupting Dash. Only a Pegasus can do that. Oh, sure, there's cloud walking spells, if you know a unicorn powerful enough to cast one on you. But yesterday, when we went up to Rainbow's place, you hopped off her back and walked on that cloud as naturally as the rest of us walk on the ground. And I saw you playing with the clouds too, molding shapes with your hooves while we were sitting there talking and eating. And you certainly can't do that if you don't have Pegasus magic way down deep in every cell, just like I said. No, Scootaloo, she said, shaking her head firmly. There's no doubt in my mind. You've got it. Heck, a lot of Pegasus cloud sculpt like that, Scoot, Rainbow agreed. Buzzed around, sure. But pinch off pieces of them, and roll them up into little balls and blocks, stack them up, and make little sculptures out of them like you were doing? You weren't even really thinking about it. You were just sitting there cloud sculpting as easy as, well, as easy as Twilight reads books. Trust me, Squirt, you're a natural at it. Dash seemed really impressed by that, and that did make me feel better. It never occurred to me that being able to play with cloud stuff in my hose was anything special. So, if I have all that magic in me, how come I can't fly? I said, still doubting. Twilight smiled and put a hoof on mine. That's what we're going to find out. Right! Des agreed, putting her hoof in as well. But you gotta promise me one thing, Scoot. What? I asked. All that stuff about being useless, a failure, and defective, and all that? She narrowed her eyes as she leaned in closer, looking straight into mine. Don't you ever say that stuff about yourself again, you hear me? Twilight's going to help us figure this out. And I'm never going to give up on you, Scoot. Ever. Element of loyalty talking here. You've never disappointed me. And you've never failed me. You're not useless. And I'll go all the way to Tartarus to find a way to make you fly if that's what it takes. Because one day, my totally awesome little sister is going to crack the sky. You got that? I smiled. Got it, big sister. She smiled and poked me with a hoof. And don't you forget it, Squirt! There are surprisingly few books on how Pegasus magic works. Did you know that? I didn't. And believe it or not, neither did Twilight. Even I thought it was kind of weird. There's tons of books out there on unicorn magic. Some of them written so that Earth ponies and Pegasi can understand the basis of it, even if we can't use it. But Pegasus or Earth pony magic? It seems like hardly any ponies ever really studied them, and not even Twilight could find that much that explained how to use them, if you didn't already know. All she could find out for sure was that I wasn't the only Pegasus who had ever had this much trouble learning to fly. It had happened before. There were several known cases of Pegasi, not many but some, who hadn't figured out flying until their teens, or even later. But there was hardly anything written about how they had finally figured it out. They were just late bloomers, and no pony had ever really bothered out to find out why that was. Not every Earth pony found their connection to the Earth right away either. And again, no pony knew why. And hardly any pony ever seriously tried to figure that out. What it all seemed to come down to was this. If you weren't a unicorn, you were pretty much on your own as far as figuring out how to make your magic work. Trial and error. Sifting through well-meaning, and often is not totally inconsistent, advice for family and friends, until you finally found something that worked for you. And none of it was working for me. Well, Twilight took that as a challenge. She had all three kinds of magic now, and she wanted to know how her new Pegasus and Earth Pony magics worked. And she couldn't find out from a book. Then by Celestia, she'd find out herself how they worked. And she'd do it scientifically. One thing I quickly learned about Twilight Sparkle, from spending so much time around her over the next few months, was that she loved doing research and solving problems. And this was a doozy of a research problem, one she could really sink her hooves into. And it darn near killed me. Okay, not really. But between Rainbow Dash making me do wing exercises every morning, running me through the training drills to build up my strength and endurance and teach me finer control of my wings, then spending half the days being poked and prodded by Twilight, while she tried all kinds of different ways of mapping magic flows in our bodies, then more exercises in the evenings. Just a week of that was enough to drive me bananas, and we've hardly even gotten started. Oh, yeah, I found out exactly what the exam table was for, too. So did Rainbow Dash. And you better believe she didn't like being strapped down for what Twilight called baseline magic flow mapping at all. But she put up with it for my sake. Dash, you really are the best big sister ever. It wasn't really bad. It didn't hurt or anything. It was just uncomfortable and kind of awkward. But I didn't care about that. I'd spend every day strapped to that table if I had to, if it helps me to fly. It didn't come to that, but it did get crazy for a while, especially when she started asking some of her other friends to get mapped, too. I think they thought she was losing her marbles again. But my friends, Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle, didn't hesitate for a second to be Cutie Mark Crusader Research Assistants, if it would help me. So their sisters couldn't exactly refuse anywhere. My friends were especially valuable to Twilight, she said, because they were only just learning to tap into their own special magics too. So they ended up getting on that exam table almost as often as I did. And never complained once. Scared! I think it's a slow dance with Diamond Tiara if it'd get you to flying, Apple Bloom told me once. I couldn't ask for better friends than that. Summer ended, and the work got twice as hard. Workouts with Rainbow Dash in the morning, go to school, Twilight's library every other evening, homework at night. Not just Miss Cheerilee's homework, but homework for Twilight, too. I had to study so hard. Harder than I ever imagined. Harder than my worst nightmares sometimes. Little by little, Twilight was cracking the riddle of how Pegasus magic worked. And I had learned enough math and science to keep up with her. I had to. She was working so hard, doing so much to try and help me. And I was not going to be just some impatient little filly pestering her for answers when I didn't even know enough to ask the right questions. I wanted to be useful, and I was so sick of not knowing why I couldn't fly. why nothing had worked for me, even though it worked for every pony else. So I asked her to teach me everything, to explain it all to me, and to help me understand why. I had no idea what I was getting to myself into when I asked for that. But oh, horseradish did I find out. I had no idea it was so complicated. Math, physics, biology, meteorology, aerodynamics, thermodynamics. I had to look those last ones over up just to spell them. There's so much more. And it all weaves together like a spider's web. Like those funny little wooden dolls for Stalingrad, where you open one up to find another inside, and then there's another inside of that, and another, and another. And every answer just leads to another question. And Celestia helped me. I started liking it. I wanted to know more. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wasn't kidding when I said I felt like my brain was melting out of my ears half the time. I had crazy nightmares about being lost in endless mazes made out of books, or of being turned into a book, being chased by writing quills trying to scribble all over me, or that I was trapped inside the schoolroom with a zillion clones of Twilight Sparkle and Miss Cheerilee outside, trying to give me tests. The only way I could escape was solve some huge, complicated math problem that filled the whole chalkboard. And every time I tried to read one part of it, the other parts would change when I wasn't looking at them, and I had to keep starting up all over again. Yeah. In hindsight, watching The Thing from Another World while chowing down on a bag of flaming hot cheesy hate crisps just before bedtime, when my brain was already fried from one of Twilight's math lessons? Bad idea. Just trust me on this. But then, there would be that moment when I would finally get my head around something she was trying to teach me. And I'd see that look of pride on her face when I could finally show her that I got it. That I finally understood what she's talking about. And those moments would make all the brain-melting nights worth it. Twilight was proud of me. Dash was proud of me. You can't imagine how awesome that felt. After all the screw-ups, all the failures, I was finally doing something right. Maybe I wasn't flying yet, but at least I was doing something right. Yeah, that's it. I admit it. I found out I actually liked learning things. I liked knowing stuff. It's actually pretty wicked cool to be able to look at things and say to myself, I know why that works. I know why that happens. I know why you hear the thunder after you see the lightning, and never the other way around. It feels pretty darn awesome, actually, to be able to build a stunt ramp for my scooter and get it right the first time, because I know now why it has to be this long at this angle if I want it to send me this high and this far, and that if I build it any other way, it won't work. Who would have ever thought somebody like me would have an inner egghead, huh? But you know what? It's okay to know stuff. Just knowing stuff doesn't turn you into some kind of boring, know-it-all nerd. Just learning these things didn't make me any different than I was before. Okay, it kinda did. But in a good way. 'Cause learning all that stuff is what finally taught me how to find the magic inside me and let it out. Learning all that stuff finally taught me how to unlock the box. Come on! Just one more time? Ugh. Come on, guys! I'm getting really hungry. Aren't you guys hungry by now? This was like forever ago! You're always hungry, Dash. Twilight chuckled. Hey, Pegasuses have high whatevers and stuff. Metabolisms, I said, feeling a warm glow at the proud look Twilight gave me for knowing that. Holy horse feathers, when did I turn into Sweetie Belle? I thought she was the walking dictionary around here. And giggling a little to myself at the way she always winced whenever Dash said Pegasuses instead of Pegasi. Sometimes, I think Dash does that on purpose, just to annoy her. Come on, Twilight, just one more! I pleaded again, turning to her. I almost had it that time. I know I did. I felt it. That little thread of fire inside, just like you said. I felt it right down here. I caught it. And I could feel it starting to push out to my wings, Twilight. I know I did, I said urgently. A couple of weeks ago, while the three of us had been preening our wings together after another hard days of practice, she told me all about the first time she used magic. Her unicorn magic, that is, and had tried to describe how it felt when she caught hold of it for the first time. A little thread of fire inside, she said, and if you could catch it and guide it to just the right spot, like touching a match to the kindling in the fireplace, the flame would catch, and then it would spread. And then you would just sort of imagine pushing that magic flame where you wanted to go. And if you could keep it held tight in your mind and push it just the right way. Well, Twilight, that sparked another and another. And next thing you know, she had another blackboard full of equations and whole new theories she wanted to test. Ever since then, we've been trying to see if maybe I could feel anything similar inside me and catch my Pegasus magic the same way. More afternoons lying on that table, firing up to some crazy gadget, using something called biofeedback to try to increase my awareness of what was going on inside my body as I tried to find that thread. At first, it didn't seem like it was going to work any better than anything else we tried. But I kept at it anyway, and after a while, I discovered I could make little lights and dials on Twilight's machines blink and wiggle on command, if I concentrated just right. That might not seem like much, but it was something. It was more than I got out of anything else we've tried so far. So at least it gave me some shred of hope that maybe, just maybe, there was something there that I could actually use. If I could just figure out the secrets those lights and dials were trying to tell me whenever I searched for that thread of fire I hoped was somewhere inside me. And today, somehow, darned if I know how, I was sure I finally was onto something. All afternoon, I just sensed that I found something. I wasn't quite sure what it was at first, but there was something inside me. Something I was getting closer and closer to each time. Something I couldn't quite see. Something just barely outside the reach of my hoof or wing. But I knew it was there. And over the last few practice runs, diving and gliding over the lake, I suddenly realized what it was I found. It was that little thread of fire, just like Twilight had described. Like a funny kind of itch in the back of my mind that seemed to get itchier whenever I pushed a certain way. And I almost caught it last time. I was sure of it. I was so close to it I could taste it. Twilight looked at me for a moment, defiant and nodded. Let her try one more time, Dash. Rainbow Dash grumbled a little, but I knew she wasn't upset with me. She was just really hungry. Okay, one more time, Squirt, she said. But that's it, all right? Seriously, Scoot, I'm starting to munching on my saddlebags here. Okay, I said, already getting myself into position. I was getting tired and hungry myself. But darn it, I was so close! I almost had it on that last try. I just needed to find that thread one more time. Ready? This time, I'm going to do it. Set! Almost had it last time. This time, go! I took off galloping, stretching out my wings and pumping them in broad strokes. And there it is again. Feel it? That little thread of fire way deep down inside? That funny itch in the back of your mind you can't scratch? That's the magic. It's got to be. All you're need to do is catch it, Scoot. Carefully. Focus. Don't let it go. Catch it. And push it out to the wings. That's it. Just a little more. Just a little more. You almost had it last time. Just catch it. You almost got it. Just keep it right in your mind. Don't let go. Push it outwards. You've almost got it, Scoot. You've almost... Scoot! You're doing it! You're doing it! I snapped back into reality as I heard excitement in Dash's voice. I galloped off the edge of the low cliff slide overlooking the lake, pumping my wings as hard and fast as I could, while trying to grab the head of the magic and force it out to my wings, just like 100 times before, and oh my gosh! The water wasn't getting closer and closer. It was getting farther away. Every pump of my wings was taking me up, not down. I was going up. I was flying! You could have heard the squeal of joy all the way back to Ponyville. I rode the air, laughing, flying higher and higher, flying, with my big sister right beside me, sharing my victory. Okay, I probably didn't get much higher than 15, maybe 20 feet above the lake, at most. But to me, it was the top of the world. I stretched my wings out to glide, letting myself descend until my hose barely skimmed the surface of the lake. Then pulled up and started pumping my wings again, banking into a turn at the top of my ascent, ready to head back to the cliff edge. And then I lost it. The thread snapped and I was falling again. Dash quickly dove under me, and I landed on her back, riding back down to earth, just like 100 times before. But this time was different, because just for a moment, I had it. I tasted it. Just for a moment, I'd been free. And I knew I could do it again. I knew it. I finally found the key that unlocked the box. We landed next to Twilight. Did you see, Twi? Dash cried happily, as the three of us hugged and laughed and tapped each other on the backs of our wings. Did you see it? She did it! She did it! I did it. Suddenly, I could hardly believe it myself. I really did it. You sure did, Skirt. I'm so proud of you. I always knew you could do it. How did it feel? It felt awesome! It was like, I couldn't even find the words. Dash grinned and nodded. Yeah, it's totally like that. She hugged me tightly again, nuzzling the top of my head. Welcome to the sky, little sister. You did it. Twilight gave me a nuzzle as well, then suddenly let go and stepped back a few paces, a mischievous look in her eyes. She spread her wings wide and bowed, stretching her forelegs out in front of her, bringing her head all the way down to her hooves. Well done, my faithful student, Twilight said, giving me that proud smile she almost always gave me when I finally got it. And I knew she was happy for me. Well done. I'm so proud of you, Scootaloo. Well done. That was the best, most awesome, proudest moment of my whole life. I've flown dozens and dozens and dozens of times since then, getting better every day, until now I can take off, fly, and land at will. I can fly up to the clouds, move them around, and walk them. I even know how to do some of Dash's flashy stunt maneuvers. Simpler ones, anyway. Almost as well as she can do them. But nothing has ever been more awesome than that one short flight over the lake. That moment when I finally got it right. I saw the pride and happiness for her in her eyes. I could hear them coming up behind me now. Twilight Sparkle and Rainbow Dash, their hose rustling through the grass behind me, chatting about something. I bet they're surprised to see me already here ahead of them like this. Well, they're even for a bigger surprise today. Oh, good morning, Scootaloo. Twilight's voice called out to me, warm and happy. Morning, Squirt. Ready to do some serious flying? Rainbow, cocky and brash, always up for a challenge. Without even looking back, I set myself into launch position, braced on all four hooves, wings extended. I was born ready, I replied, matching her cocky attitude. That's the spirit, Scoot! How about we warm up with some whoa? I hear her cry of surprise as I suddenly take off, galloping and launch myself into the air like a fireworks rocket. My wings buzzing furiously as I angled myself upwards to climb hard and fast, heading straight for the clouds. I've launched myself into the air 100 times now, just like this, since my first flight. And it still hasn't lost the thrill of victory, that sense of pure freedom, as I leave the ground behind. And after being so grounded for so long, I, Scootaloo, can finally fly. And today, I'm going to do much more than that. They launched themselves into the air after me, and I can already sense Rainbow Dash coming up fast behind me, gaining on me. In just a few heartbeats, She's right alongside me, her powerful wings pumping the air as she turns to give me a challenging grin. Twilight sparkles well behind Dash, and it takes her longer to catch up to us. Gonna be like that, huh? Dash calls out, laughing. Fine! Racing to the clouds, guys! Last one to 5,000 buys lunch! And make sure you get my daffodil sandwiches with extra mustard on rye bread, you slowpokes! Oh, it is on! I hear Twilight laughing behind us. Twilight and I may not be able to pull the kind of high-speed stunts and fancy tricks Dash does, but thanks to all the weeks of practice and training exercises Dash made us both do, we can at least do pretty respectively in a purely straight-line race now. I may not be able to beat Dash yet, but on a good day, I can make her have to work for it a little if she wants to win now. And today is a good day. I don't say anything. I just keep pumping my own wings higher and higher, feeling the magic surging through them as I gain altitude and speed. Dash starts to pull away, and on any other day, I cranked up the wind power and tried to match her. But today, I've got a bigger goal than daffodil sandwiches in mind, so I pace myself, enough to keep ahead of Twilight, but not pushing myself to the limit too fast or too soon. I'll be pushing my limits soon enough. At 5,000 feet, Dash slows to a hover, laughing at her victory as Twilight and I catch up to her. Then whinnies a surprise again as I rocket past without stopping or slowing down. 5,000 isn't nearly high enough for me, by my calculations. Using the math and science Twilight taught me, and my own estimates of what I could do for my practice flights, I need at least 10. 12 would be better. 15,000 feet? More than enough. So that's where I'm going. 15,000 feet, straight up. I must have really caught them by surprise, as I make it almost all the way to 5,500 feet before they give chase. Nearly 6,000 before they catch up to me. Hey, Scoots! What gives? Rainbow calls out. I'm going for it, I say calmly. You're going for what? Twilight asks me. Yeah, going for... Out of the corner of my eye, I see Rainbow's expression changes as she catches on. There's only one it I could possibly mean. The it I've been longing to do ever since they started teaching me to fly. The it I've dreamed of doing ever since she's known me. The it that will prove once and for all that I, Scootaloo, do command the sky, just like my hero. Whoa. Seriously? 7,000 feet. I'm going to it, Dash! I say. No hesitation. No uncertainty. Just a statement of fact. What's he talking about, Rainbow? Are you sure, Scoots? Dash asks, ignoring Twilight. 7,500. I glance over at Dash, and for a second, our eyes meet. She's worried about me. I can tell. Worried that I'm pushing too hard, too soon. That I'm about to do something reckless and foolish. Maybe I am. But I'm still going to do it. Dash! Twilight calls impatiently. Scootaloo! What's going on? She doesn't know. It would never occur to her to do something like this. She'd make a zillion-point checklist in triplicate, analyze it down to the smallest detail, and schedule it 6 weeks in advance before she even think about doing it. She just doesn't know what it is to dare yourself, to push yourself to the limit, to risk it all just because you need to prove yourself that you can. 8,000. I see Dash's expression change. She gets it, and she knows she won't be able to talk me out of it. Whatever it is she's seeing in my face right now, stubbornness, iron determination, or just the recklessness of a young filly who's eager to prove herself to her mentor, she knows I'm not going to change my mind. She'll have to throw herself in the front of the ground to stop me, and I know she won't do that, because she understands me. She knows I have to try to give it everything I've got, push myself right to the edge. She understands, because that's what she would do. Are you sure you want to do this, Scoot? She asked me, just barely loud enough for me to hear. I just keep flying without saying a word. She already knows the answer to that question. No need to waste breath by saying it out loud. 8,500. Dash suddenly gives me a big grin and nod. Then go for it, Squirt! Crack the sky! Just like that. She breaks off her pursuit and peels off in a slow, lazy arc back toward the ground, motioning for Twilight to follow her. See you on the ground! Come on, Twilight! What? But what about Scootaloo? We need to be up there with her! Twilight says. She'll be fine, Twi. Their voices fade into the distance behind me. I don't worry about them. Dash will get Twilight to follow her back down one way or the other. Dash understands. Twilight doesn't yet, but she will. 9,000 feet, and I push on alone, heading for the clouds. 10,000. I can start my run now, and by my calculations, by Twilight's math and science, it should be enough. Dash would cut it as close as possible, of course. But I'm not Rainbow Dash. Not yet. So I keep going. I'd rather play it safe than risk failing. I've had enough failure to last me enough lifetime. And I will not fail today. 11,000. The air is getting thinner with every wing beat upwards. And I can feel my lungs laboring as I pump my wings, diving myself upward, higher and higher toward my goal. I feel the magic inside me adjusting itself as it keeps me going, to keep me alive, keep me flying to even greater heights in a place where no pony should be able to do what we do, and no other ponies can do what we do. Only a Pegasus can go this high. 12,000 feet. I can't help but feel a little nervous as I continue to climb. I've never been this high before on my own. Even with Dash, I've only been up here a few times. Part of me wishes Twilight and she had kept following me, just so I could hear their voices. But I know it's better this way. This is something I need to do on my own. That's why Dash turned around and took Twilight with her, instead of following me up. She gets it. She understands. And better still, she believes I could do this. I know she does, because she's the element of loyalty. And she would never have turned back on me and left me alone if she had any doubt I could do this. I concentrate on that thought, forcing any lingering doubt or uncertainty out of my mind. Rainbow Dash, my hero, my big sister, the element of loyalty and greatest flyer in all of Equestria, believes that I, Scootaloo, can fly. She believes that I can fly to the top of the world, and I can crack the sky. And I believe it too. I can. And I will. 13,000. It's cold up here. Funny how that works. Most ponies don't understand how it could be colder higher up. It doesn't make sense to them. You're closer to the sun up here, they think. So, shouldn't it be warmer? A lot of Pegasi don't really know the reason for it. They just know that's the way it is. The way it's always been. But I know why. Twilight's books taught me. It's because the air is like layers of blankets on a winter's night, keeping the world toasty warm underneath it. Going up high in the air is like kicking off the blankets. With fewer and thinner blankets between you and the winter, you feel colder. Egghead stuff. But because I understand it, I have no fear of it. Even as the air grows colder and colder around me as I keep going higher. 14,000. It's windy too. Up here, the air is alive with cross currents and jet streams, all posting in different directions. It's almost as if the air senses what I'm about to do. It tries to catch me with a vicious crosswind, trying to divert me from my course. It takes every bit of my flight skills Dash has drilled into my head to read the changes in the air and write them out. One wrong move up here could wrench my wings, knock me off course, send me tumbling out of control in a dozen directions. It's not safe up here, this hideout. 15,000 feet. Nearly 3 miles in the air. 3 times as high as Cloudsdale. The highest I've ever flown. I should be worried. I should be nervous, flying so high. Alone. But I'm not. Because I'm a Pegasus, and this is where I belong, where every Pegasus belongs. To a Pegasus, the cold, the wind, the thinness of the air which could not even the hardest and most well-conditioned of earth ponies or most powerful of unicorns could survive in for even a minute without strong magic spells to protect them, means nothing. Because to us, the air is our element, our magic, ours to command. We fly harder, faster, farther than any other creature. We shape the clouds to our design. We call forth their rain and lightning at will. We control the skies like no other creature of Equestria can. And here now, as I hover at the top of the world, I know, deep in my heart, down in my very soul, that today, the sky, the air itself, are mine to command. Not will be, or might be, or could be. They are. I hold on to these thoughts, keeping them tight. Holding them tighter than I used to hold my favorite blanket when I was little. There could be no room for doubt now, not with what I'm about to do. I am Scootaloo. I am a Pegasus. I command the sky, and the air is mine. And today I, Scootaloo, the Pegasus who couldn't fly, will light the sky on fire. I hold those thoughts tight as I begin my dive. Within moments, the air is whipping past me at tremendous speed, faster and faster, pulling at my wings, my mane and tail, fighting me, resisting me. Not today. Today, the sky is mine, and the air will obey me. I feel the pressure starting to build, and I focus my mind on the task in front of me. I spent night after night studying this, my nose buried in books while I struggled through the math and science of it, trying to wrap my brain around the secrets. I spent days, weeks practicing this, trying to put the secrets to use, to feel the box within me opening up and release the flows of magic when I want them. And I feel that power spreading across my wings now. The magic of the Pegasus, which bends the air to our will, enables us to fly, to command the skies to our bidding, to do the impossible in flight as easily as a unicorn levitates a teacup, or an earth pony grows a carrot patch. I feel it. A sensation of power. Energy spreading across my wings like warm sunshine. Except the warmth is coming from somewhere deep inside me. Like the glow of an oil lamp after it's been lit. Burning brighter and brighter as the flame begins to catch on the wick. I feel it! And I know now why it happens. I sense the magic in the box by instinct. But I understand through knowledge. Through understanding comes control. And through control comes the ability to open the box, to send the magic where I need it to go. Along the edges of my wings, out to the tips, through the primary feathers. And now comes the tricky part. Grasp the magic with my mind. Visualize myself pushing it outwards, forcing it into the air itself in a very particular way. A bubble of air around me begins to hum with power, and then to glow, charging itself with the magic of a Pegasus in flight. My magic. Streaming off my wings under my control, channeled and harnessed, to be stored up and released in one glorious burst. Blasting, billowing, bursting forth with the power of 10 billion butterfly sneezes. Now where did that silly sounding thought come from? Something from a Foles nursery rhyme? From Miss Cheerilee's class when we were doing poetry assignments last month? That tripping music final scratch plays? Surrealistic? That's the word Twilight Sparkle would use. Some random comment Pinkie Pie said once? Yeah, that sounds like something she would say. It's goofy and totally random, completely ridiculous. And it fits perfectly. I like it. 10 billion butterfly sneezes, and every one of them at my command. I let myself have a slight chuckle at the randomness of my brain. Or Pinkie's brain, more likely. Then dismiss it, driving that thought out of my head with all the rest as I build up speed, Pulling myself into the outstretched minimum drag position I've practiced day after day after bone weary day until I could do it in my sleep. I think of nothing else. There must be nothing else at this moment. Just me in the air, my magic streaming off my wings, and the pressure wave forming just off the tips of my outstretched toes as I kick my body into position. Mind command. The wave becomes a cone, narrowing, condensing, tightening, cracking as the Pegasus magic forms into it, forcing the air to shape itself to my needs, and I give my way to me, to do as I command, rather than what Twilight's books on natural laws say it should, using the magic of the Pegasus to bake the sky, because now I know why it works. I know how to make it work. I know. The sky is mine. It hurts. Oh, Celestia, it hurts. The air is resisting me, fighting me. I'm forcing it to do something it naturally doesn't want to do, and so it's trying to make me back off. Force me to give up by hurting me. The pressure cone is on fire with the energy pouring into it, and my forehose feel like I've just dunked them into boiling water. My wings are burning with the strain as the hurricane strength wind blasting past my body threatens to dislocate the joints if I make a single wrong move. My tail feels like something is trying to pull it out by the roots, and at these speeds, even the dust in my air stings my body like a whole hive of angry bees. And I understand why. I understand the forces tearing at my body is straining my wings, and the reasons for the forces pulling at my tail because of the gap of emptier than empty space I'm leaving in the wake as I dive faster than air can follow. And the reasons why the compressed magic at my forehose feels like holding on to red-hot coals, even though it's not really burning at all. And because I understand them, I have no fear of them. I control them. The air is mine. I hold that thought tight and push through the pain, accepting it as the price of what I'm demanding for the outraged air, then dismissing it. There's no room for it now. No matter how much punishment, how much pain the air inflicts on me as it tries to resist, the air will not win. It will not win. I won't let it. Not this time. I, Scootaloo, will win this battle, and the air will yield to me, and I will crack the sky. Hold that thought. I will. There's no place for anything else. Not now. No place for failure. No place for almost. No place for maybe next time. Not today. The air burns. It glows until it's almost too much to look at, nearly blinding me as I channel more and more power into it, forcing the pressure cone to tighten still more. The ice-cold fire, crackling magic, trying to escape from the cone, strikes the leading edge of my wings with angry lightning bolts as I force the air to bend to my will, charging it with Pegasus magic, then overcharging it, silver-saturating it, pushing us both to the breaking point. But I will not be the one who breaks. Not today. I summon up every bit of physical and magical strength I've got, driving myself to go even faster still, reaching for the speed of sound, such in which Twilight's book says no living creature can attain naturally, reaching for the impossible, holding tightly to one thought, focused on one goal. The sky is mine to command. Blasting. The pressure cone is searing to eye brightness, like staring at the celestial sun. And it will obey me. The lightning bolt crackles of magic, the hurricane-force wind cutting through my coat and mane, the ache of every muscle, every bone, every nerve strained to the limit, makes my body feel like it's on fire, billowing, freezing, burning, ice-cold, boiling hot pain burning me alive as I blaze across the sky. The sky is mine. The pain is excruciating. The pain means nothing to me because I am Scootaloo, bursting forth, reaching for the impossible. The air is my element. I twist the magic in my hooves, and at my command, with the power of a billion butterfly sneezes, the air shatters like a glass heart-warming tree ornament falling on the floor, like a snowball hitting the side of our clubhouse, like the striking slab of peanut brittle on my hoof. The air shatters around me as the searing pressure cone at my forehead finally gives way, splitting open, ripping a hole in the sky. In less than a heartbeat, my body slits through the jagged gap I've torn through the burning air, and a massive thunderclap explodes right behind my hindhooves as I clear the gap with barely a horseshoe to spare. The surge of exploding magic sends a strange, tingling shock all the way down to my bones, and I can already sense the blast wave coming after me, chasing me like a hangry timber wolf, like an enraged manticore, coming to shred my wings with its savagery, to tear me apart and devour me if it catches me. But it won't, because I am Scootaloo. I've had the two best teachers a Pegasus filly could ever ask for. I am a true Pegasus. I am in my element. I command the sky. And I've already won. Even as the leading edge of the blast wave touches the tip of my tail, I'm rocking away with a magic-fueled burst of speed I've barely even dreamt of before, and the whole world smearing into a blur of colors, flashing past my eyes, too fast to see. Instincts, reflexes take over now, as the ground rushes up to meet me, leveling off, rushing headlong in a mass dash for safety, dodging every treetop, every boulder, every obstacle as it flashes past, before I'm even aware of being there at all. The raging fury of the exploding air behind me has no chance. It never did. Even so, I don't dare look back. I want to. I want to look back and see what I've done. See if I really pulled it off. But I understand. I know. I mustn't do it. At the incredible speed I'm pulling right now, any disruption in the flow of air and magic around me could do in an instant what the shatter of air behind me failed to do. Break my legs or back. Tear my wings from my body in a heartbeat. Break my neck. If I don't stay in the minimal drag position that, thanks to Twilight's patient lecturing, testing, and Rainbow's endless flight drills, I now understand the critical significance of. And if I slowed down enough to turn around, the shockwave could still catch me if I'm not far away enough from it yet. And I have no way of knowing if I am, since I don't dare look back to see if I left it behind. Instead, I force my aching, stinging, strained body to pull up, rocketing toward the clouds once more. I know the shockwave expands like a fear, like blowing up a balloon or soap bubble. Twilight taught me this. Miss Cheerily taught us this too, in one of her science lessons. But Twilight made me understand the significance of it. Made me learn enough of that wretched, mind-numbing, brain-melting algebra and its doubly cursed evil sibling, geometry, to know. I keep a picture of that expanding bubble in my head as I seek safety in altitude as well as distance, steering the escape course that'll keep me outside of it. Except, that's not really a bubble. It's more like an expanding cloud of steam, getting cooler and thinner as it dissipates. That's the word. The larger the area has to fill, the less substance it has. Gas laws say so. For any given amount of gas or pressure, pressure times volume is a constant named K. P times V equals K. If the amount of volume it occupies increases, its pressure must decrease. Basic magic theory, and I bet you won't find many pegasi who know this, says a ball of compressed magic force detonated follows the same rule. And since geometry, that evil, nightmarish thing that made my brain hurt for weeks, insists that the expanding sphere of the shockwave is an ever-increasing volume, then algebra, geometry's even more evil twin brother, demands that pressure of the explosion inside the sphere must still be decreasing. Egghead stuff. Twilight taught me all these things, made me learn them. And thanks to her, I understand what it all means. It means the raging demon I've let loose behind me can only chase me so far before it no longer has the strength to harm me. and that what can shatter windows and knock ponies off their hose at 10 feet becomes no more than a stiff gust of wind at 100, and a mere butterfly sneeze at 1,000. Finally, some inner sense tell me that the magic charged airburst's burning rage has spent itself. The expanding cloud has cooled and dissipated. The demon has lost its strength. I feel it, because I'm a Pegasus in my element, at one with the sky and air. And I know it, because the math and science twilight poured into my head tells me so. I'm safe. I've won. I've won! I finally allow myself to slow down, pulling into another vertical quarter turn that has me flying the way back I came, executing a 180-degree roll to make the whole world swing around me until I'm flying right side up again. A perfect in the air roll off the top turn, the first stunt flying maneuver Daz ever taught me. And then, and only then, do I turn my head toward the blast point so I see that I didn't make the sonic rain boom. I made something else. The patch of sky I ripped apart is blazing with twin rings of light, one inside the other, boiling with every shade of orange and purple there is, like an exploding sunrise. I can't think of any other words for it. Everything from rusted iron to fresh carrots to orange smoothie ice cream, fresh lavender flowers and raspberries and broiled purple velvet, all of them shining like celestial sun. Their outer edges burning with shades of orchids and tangerines as rich as one of Pinkie Pie's quadruple chocolate fudge brownie sundaes, fading to tints and thistles and peaches as pale as Sweetie Belle's coat at the center. All of those shades and more, shimmering across the morning sky in an ever-expanding ring of colored fire, and irradiating from the trailing edges of my wings, all the way back to the blast point. Two perfectly formed ribbons of pure orange and violet light, as bright as lightning, throwing firefly sparkles of gold and amethyst everywhere. It's not a rain boom, but it's still the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Because it's mine. All these months of trying, after all the hard work, practicing, studying, all those years of being taunted as the flightless wonder, the dodo, the Pegasus filly who couldn't fly, I, Scootaloo, have lit the sky on fire. That was awesome! Rainbow Daz is shouting, laughing, as she scoots me up into a congratulatory hug the second my host seats the ground. I knew you could do it, Scoot! I knew it! Didn't I tell you she could do it, Twi? Twilight is just sitting there, staring in amazement as the twin rings of fire still blazing across the morning sky. The shimmering colors only just now starting to fade, and centering on the blast point, a looped ribbon of light, forming a figure eight lying on its side. The awesome explosion of colored fire was for Dash. The sideways figure eight loop, the symbol of infinity, is for Twilight. My thank you gift to both my teachers and mentors for making my dream come true at last, for helping me to fly. I slide free of Rainbow's embrace and trot over to wrap my hose around Twilight's neck, hugging her gratefully. She blinks and looks down at me with astonishment and pride and gratitude. She knows that symbol of infinity in the sky is for her. You did it, Scootaloo! I couldn't have done it without you, Twilight, I say honestly. All that stuff you taught me? She wraps me in her wings, holding tight. And then, as some other ponies come galloping up from the trail from Ponyville to find out what the horseradish just happened out here at the lake, she suddenly gets that mischievous look in her eyes again. She lets go of me, takes a couple steps back, and... oh no. She wouldn't. Yes, she would. Just like that day I flew for the first time. She spreads her wings wide, and with a painful wink, she bows to me, bringing her head all the way down to her hooves. Well done, my faithful student, she says, loudly enough for every pony coming up the trail to hear. Well done! Dash grins and gives her a playful punch in the shoulder. Oh, knock it off, princess! She laughs. You're embarrassing her! Yes, she is. It feels like I'm blushing all the way to my wingtips. But I don't mind. I did it for them, after all. I knew you had it in you, Scoot, Dash says, laughing easily as we wrap each other up in our wings again. Didn't I tell you you'd crack the sky one day? She hugs me tight, nuzzling my head. I've always had faith in you, little sister. I always knew you could do it. I kind of wonder why it didn't make a rainbow, though, I say uncertainly. I thought I had it all worked out. Maybe I should have had you check my fingers, Twilight. I can't believe I just said that. I add with a weird chuckle. Horseradish, turning more into an egghead than I thought. That's actually a good question, Scootaloo, she says softly. I wonder if it has something to do with differences in your magic signatures. Different unicorns have different aura colors when they use their magic, after all. So it seems like a reasonable hypothesis that pegasi and earth ponies might have different color signatures too. We just don't actually see them most of the time because of the way they express their magic. But when you or Dash do something like that, oh, that is a whole new set of variables I haven't even considered. Chromatic variations of pegasi and earth pony magic. Who knows what implications they could have? Dash and I just look to each other, chuckling to ourselves, as Twilight lights up with enthusiasm at the idea of having another puzzle to solve, and another mystery of the universe to pry into. She lives for those, just like Dash and I live to fly. Ah, don't sweat it, Scoot, Dash said, giving me a nudge. What you did is 20% cooler than a rainbow anyway. Really? I asked, surprised. Absolutely! You know why? 'Cause it's your Scoot. I have to smile, as my hero confirms what I thought to myself a moment ago. That's your special trick. Scootaloo Sky Blaster. And I hate to admit it, but, well... She pauses, rubs the back of her head with a hoof. All that egghead stuff Twilight crammed into your brain? At least it won't take you 10 years of trying to figure out how to do it again. You could go right back up there and do it again tomorrow if you want to. That's pretty darn cool of itself, Squirt. Scootaloo Sky Blaster? I can't help but giggle at it. Seriously? We'll work on it. So, the student surpasses the master, Rainbow Dash? Twilight asks, teasing Dash. Ha! You wish! You guys will just have to get a lot better at stuff flying before... Whoa. Rainbow suddenly pushes me backwards, staring at something just behind me. Check it out! What? What is it? I gasped, startled. Twilight follows Dash's gaze, smiles that proud smile again. Look behind you, Scootaloo. No. It couldn't be. Slowly, I turned my head to look at my flank. And there it is. My cutie mark. A brilliant orange figure 8 laying on its side, surrounded by bright purple flames forming the shape of outstretched wings, telling the world who I am. Telling the world that I am Scootaloo, that I am full of potential, and the possibilities are infinite. Okay, so let's talk about why this fic is just plain awesome, and why I love it so much, even though compared to the rest of the fics on my list of top 12, it is the shortest, being the only one chapter fic on the whole list. Well, first off, it's a great Rainbow and Dash Twilight working together fic that, well, doesn't really have them being romantically involved, but has them working together to help out this little filly. It's a great Rainbow Dash piece, showing that Rainbow Dash loves Scootaloo like her little sister, and she will always be there to work hard, to stay by her side, and to help her, to teach her and to get her to fly, and to make sure that she could be just as awesome as she could. It helps to show Twilight's growing role as a teacher, as a princess, passing on the lessons that she has learned onto others, using her magic and capabilities to help others. Which, of course, is one of the main themes and one of the big things I loved about Season 4, was that we were seeing them inspire, to help others learn. that the elements of harmony started becoming more than just gems, but who they were, and how they could pass those lessons on to so many others, or inspire others to do that type of good. And that type of thing passes on to Scootaloo here. They used their combined talents to teach Scootaloo something brand new, something he never could. It's a great Scootaloo piece, as it shows her determination that matches Dash's, and her willingness to strive and push herself to succeed, even going so far as to, quote-unquote, become an egghead. It's also a great piece dealing with Scootaloo's disability. I, like so many others, really love Fight to the Finish. And I do like the message that Dash did say, maybe you will, and maybe you won't. You're still awesome. And it is true. Sometimes we don't always get what we want. Sometimes we do have to stick with what we can do. And sometimes we gotta understand and respect what we love to do the best. I mean, shoot. Everybody else has certain talents, but I have to stick with what I can do, and I love it. However, this fic decides to expand upon that by using Scootaloo's own gifts to help her learn, and allowing her to surpass what she's got. This feels like it's a good sequel to Flight to the Finish. This is one of those few fanfics, one of those many fanfics that I've got in my repertoire, and the only one, and one of the few on my top 12 that could be an episode in itself. A good sequel with Twilight and Rainbow Dash helping Scootaloo learn so much, and Scootaloo achieving her own skills. It's got a great awesome moment of Scootaloo breaking the sky and causing a flaming infinity symbol. The descriptions, the thoughts of Scootaloo playing through your head make you really want to root for her and go into her side, her skull as she pushes herself through. Everything else just flows and feels perfect. And like any good story or good movie, it leaves you feeling better after you're done listening. I know this may seem like this was just a filler piece after Elements of Harmony Save Your Worlds, but it wasn't. This was one of those stories I had intended on reading for a long time now. I just found today to be perfect. I love this fic from beginning to end because it helps remind me that the possibilities are endless, and that if you strive hard enough and learn in your own way, because this is what another fic this is part of, it's also like a sequel to Testing 123, you can surpass any limit, no matter who sets what for you. You just need to learn it in your own way and learn how to open that box and learn how to give yourself that ability. Much like how I do. Everything I've learned and everything I've done is through trial and error, by understanding how and why everything works. So yeah, this fic also touches me in my heart. This was a truly great fic. Next time, the Luniverse returns. Take it, Shirley. Mr. Heavy Roller, we need to talk. Yes, Miss Shirley? About your daughter. About Scootaloo? She's been through a few... look, I know... Look, we need to have a long talk. A seriously long talk. Because, quite frankly, I don't think I'm going to survive much longer with your daughter. Really? Yeah, it kind of hurts. Next time, on the Luniverse, scoot along to the cheer. It's sure to be a painful experience. I'll see you next time.